This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, Bruchim Aboim. Welcome everyone. So we have a very interesting subject this evening. We begin Parshas Eikev. We're not going beyond the first pasuk, okay? So don't worry. You don't have to know more than the first pasuk. The opening pasuk begins. V'haya, and it will be Eikev Tishma'un. We're not going to translate the word Eikev yet. If you will listen, Eis HaMishpatim Ha'ela, to these laws, Shmartem Asisam Oisam, and you guard them and you perform them. V'shamar Hashem lekach l'cha sabris, v'yasach chesed, Hashem will preserve the covenant and the kindness Hashem nishba la b'yisecha, that He swore to your forefathers. And the psukim continue, v'ahevcha, He'll love you, v'yirachecha, He'll bless you, v'herbecha, He'll multiply you, and you'll have rain and you'll have food, and al skit, everything will be good. It seems like, Rabbi Sai, it seems like what the Rebbeinu Shalom is promising us is reward. Yeah? In fact, if you look at Targum Onkelos on the word Eikev, what does Eikev mean? It says Targum Onkelos, V'hei chalaf. And there will be an exchange, Disekablon, Yasdinaya ho'ilain, if you accept these laws, V'sitron, and you guard them, then V'sabdun yas, and you perform them, V'yitar Hashem l'kach lach yas kiyama, God will guard you. So the Targum clearly translates the word Eikev as schar, chalaf, exchange, meaning we do A, and Hashem responds in kind. Okay, that's going to be difficult for a specific reason that we're going to get to very soon. The opening Rashi in Eikev is mamish hafla v'fela, and nobody is aware how difficult this Rashi is. Look at Rashi. Rashi says, "V'haya Eikev tishma'un im hamitzvos hakalos." The light mitzvahs, she'adam dash ba'akevav, that people trample on, tishma'un, you listen to. In other words, the word Eikev is a lashon of Eikev, the heel. It's referring to, if you guard the small mitzvahs, the slight mitzvahs that people trample upon, then Hashem promises us everything mentioned in the Torah. So Eikev, according to Rashi, does not mean reward, like the Targum. Eikev is a lashon of the heel, and it refers to mitzvahs that people trample on. The question on Rashi is, there's one word in this Rashi which is like inexplicable. You know which word this is? The first word of Rashi. What does Rashi mean, im? What do you mean, im? It doesn't say any word in the pasuk that means im. What does Rashi mean? Im, it should say, Eila ha-mitzvahs hakalos. Eikev means, these are the light mitzvahs. What does it even mean? Im? If? What's Rashi doing with that word? Most people, when they read Rashi, they just skip the word because it's like your eyes can't even see it because it doesn't make any sense. I asked people, I said this Rashi to 10 people. I don't see anything. I said, im! Oh, im? We didn't see the word im. Most people don't even pick up the word im is there. What? Im has no meaning here. What do you mean if? There's no word in this pasuk that means if. The haya means and it will be in the future. What's im? That's with an ayin. Aleph. Aleph means if. What's Rashi talking about? Yeah? So here's the big whopper of the night. Okay? The big whopper of the night is, according to Onkelos, that the word Eikev means reward, and that's the simple meaning of the pasuk. And in fact, the psukim go on to say all the rewards that are in store for those who observe the mitzvos. There's a question. You know what the question is? Who remembers last week's Parsha? Last week's Parsha, V'aschanan. How does V'aschanan end? V'aschanan ends, V'shamarta es ha-mitzvah, you will guard the commandment, V'es ha-chukim, and the statutes, V'es ha-mishpatim, and the laws, Asher anoichi mitzavcha hayom, that I command you today, la'asoisam, to do them. So everybody is familiar, and I'm sure you know, that on these two words, hayom, la'asoisam, today, to perform them, the Gemara in Eruvin, Adav Chaf Beis Darshans, the Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Mai dichsev, what does the pasuk mean? Asher anoichi mitzavcha hayom. We darshan, la'asoisam hayom. Hayom la'asoisam, to do them today, v'loy lamachar la'asoisam. You can't do them tomorrow. Meaning all the mitzvahs, you could only perform today, you cannot perform the mitzvahs tomorrow. At l'achar mei v'esem shana, when a person goes up to Olam Haba, it's the end, it's all over. It's impossible to be mekayim any mitzvahs l'achar mei v'esem shana. Put on your tzitzis now, you'll never be able to do it when that day comes. To wear your tefillah now, to learn now, go to Shiur now, Daven with kavanah now. There's only one opportunity in life. You'll never be able to do it again. Hayoim la'asoisam v'loy lamachar la'asoisam. And the Gemara darshans, Hayoim la'asoisam, today to perform, lamachar l'kabel scharam. Tomorrow you get reward. Mashma, tomorrow you get reward. Today you will not get reward. Meaning there is no reward in olam hazeh. That's what the Gemara seems to be saying. In other words, put on your tefillin, but don't expect to get anything from it in this world. You ain't going to. God's not giving you nothing for putting on tefillin in this world. Who says that? Hashem. Hayoim la'asosim. Today you do, tomorrow you reap the reward. You should learn. The only thing you can get out of learning in this world is Carlos and Gabby's. You're not getting any schar in olam hazeh for limud Torah. That's what the pasuk says. Hayoim la'asosim. Or the way it's enunciated in the Gemara in Kedushin, the sheet of Rabbi Yaakov, Gemara in Kedushin Lamed Tesam and Aleph, Rabbi Yaakov he da'amar schar mitzvah b'hai alma leka. There is no reward in this world. You don't like it? What can I tell you? That's what the Torah says. There's no reward in this world. Reward is for olam haba. Today, this is the world of performance. Next world is the world of benefit. Next word is the reward of reward. So the question is, how could the Torah say, V'haya Eikev Tishman, this is the reward for mitzvahs, when at the end of Aschanan it says, Hayoim la'asoisam, u'lamachar l'kavel scharam, schar mitzvah b'hai amaleka. So I would say, if the words Hayoim la'asoisam were in Parshas Noach, so you'd say, by the time you get up to Parshas Eikev, you already forgot about Parshas Noach. So, you'll say that's the shita of Sefer Bereshis, and, Sefer Devarim has a different shita. If it would be, in the beginning of Parshas Devarim, by the time Eikev comes around 2 weeks later, who remembers what it says in Sefer Devarim? The last pasuk in V'aschanan is Hayoim la'asoisam, and the very next words are V'haya Eikev. Here's the reward. It's mamash hafla v'fela. It ends off, V'aschanan ends off, you do the mitzvahs today, and you get reward tomorrow. There's no reward in this world. And the very next words are, V'haya Eikev, and here's the reward. You cannot possibly have Shnei Ksuvim, Hamachishim Zeh Zeh, in closer proximity. You have 4 words. The first 2 words say, there's no reward in this world. And the next 2 words say, V'haya Eikev, there is reward in this world. So this is a major question. And I believe the first to address this question is the Levush. And this is how the Levush, in his commentary on Rashi, expresses the question that, if you look in number 7, the Levush Ha'ira on Rashi, the Levush says, 4 lines from the bottom, Im Kain, Yiyu Shnei Hapsukim Hasmuchim Zeh Lozeh Soisrim Zeh. The 2 psukim that are in close proximity to each other contradict each other. Here you have the end of Aschanan, Hayoim la'asoisim, today to do, tomorrow to get reward. And the very next words are, V'haya Eikev, and here is the reward. Now it's interesting, the Levush's approach is that who's bothered by this question? Rashi's bothered by this question. And the way Rashi addresses the question is by saying like this. The word Eikev, most Mefarshim, or many Mefarshim learn, means because. V'haya. And it will be Eikev Tishma'un, because you listen to the mitzvahs, like in the pasuk. Eikev Asher Shama Abraham B'koili, then I'll give you this, I'll give you the rain, and you'll be happy, and you'll have benefit. But the reason why Rashi did not learn the word Eikev means Ba'avor, because that would be contradicting the last pasuk of Hayoim La'asoisam. Elamai, Rashi therefore feels that there's a missing word in the pasuk. The missing word is im, if. And then if it means if, Eikev can't mean because you can't say if because. So therefore Rashi translates, if Eikev, the mitzvahs that people step on, Tishma, and you adhere to those mitzvahs, then I'll reward you. So how do we answer the contradiction? But at the end of Aschanan we say there's no reward for mitzvahs. The answer is, the way Rashi explains the Levush is answering this question, is that the end of Aschanan is saying, Hayoim la'asoisam, when it comes to the big mitzvahs, there's no reward in this world. There's nothing Hashem could reward us in this world. But v'haya Eikev, but the small little mitzvahs that people step on, those mitzvahs you get rewarded for in this world. That is the approach of the Levush. That Hayoim la'asoisam is going on the biggies, And v'haya Eikev is going on the mitzvahs that people sort of trample on. So we don't know. So you do all of them, and you hope, some you'll get reward in Olam Haba, and some you get in Olam Hazeh. This is the approach of the Levush. But what I want to share with you this evening is, at the end of the day, even though the purpose of life is Ein ha'adam nivra ela lehisaneg al Hashem, that God created us to be able to enjoy Olam Haba. But in this world, we're human beings, and all we know of really is this world. And people are always thinking, what could I do to get reward in this world? And it would seem to be nothing. Schar mitzvah b'hayam aleka, hayom la'asoisam. What we're going to learn tonight is 10 ways to get reward ba'olam hazeh. And they're going to come from the pasuk v'haya Eikev tishma'on, that v'haya Eikev, you know what the reward will be if you listen to the mitzvahs. 10 ways to get reward in olam hazeh. Avada, the ideal should be and the goal should be, forget about this world. This world is hevel havalim. It's offer va'efer. Adam, yisaydai may offer. The soifai la offer. Aber lamaisa, sometimes you have to speak to the Yetzer Hara and you want to be able to tell him, you know what, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get a good life in this world. We're going to learn tonight 10 ways to get reward in Olam Hazeh. So let us begin. Comes the Chidah in the Sefer Rosh David. The Chidah wrote many, many svarim. I once saw an official account of 71 svarim the Chidah wrote. Some say over 100. Baruch Hashem, I have most of the svarim of the Chidah. Recently we were in Italy. We went to Livorno, and we saw the chair of the Chidah. The chair the Chidah sat on. And we went to the Beis HaChaim in Livorno, and we saw there's a Chalkas Rabbanim. There were 3 Rabbanim there. It says by their kever, they were maspid the Chidah. Chidah says like this. He was buried in Livorno, and then Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu brought him up to Yerushalayim. Fine.
Buried next to him.
That's right. So, says the Chidah in the Sefer Rosh David, for a mitzvah itself, there is no reward in this world. That's the pshat, hayoim la'asoisam u'lamachar l'kabel scharam. However, v'haya, but for the v'haya, Eikev tishma'on, you'll be rewarded. What does v'haya mean? So there's a medrash, the Bereshis Rabbah, in Parsha Membeis, Bereshis Rabbah, it says, Asar Rav Shmuel bar Nachman va'avid palga. Rav Shmuel bar Nachman came and he did half. B'chal makom shenemar, wherever it says, Vayihi, Meshamesh tzara. Vayihi is a language of pain. V'haya is simcha. V'haya is a language of happiness. Says the Chidah, you read the pasuk like this. Hayoim, when you do a mitzvah, Hayoim la'asaisim. You do the mitzvah today, you'll be rewarded tomorrow. There's no reward in this world. But for Haya, the simcha that you have when you do a mitzvah, Eikev tishma, and you'll be rewarded in this world. For the mitzvah itself, there's no reward. But for the Vahaya, for the simcha shel mitzvah, you're rewarded in Olam Hazeh. That's how you answer the 5 words. Hayoim la'asoisam, today you do it, umachal kavas charam, but for the v'haya, for the simcha shel mitzvah, that you get rewarded in this world. V'haya means literally, and it will be. As they say, haya is the past. You take the vav, it makes it the future. If you take your past and you use it to be able to look into the future and plan your future, that's a lashon of simcha. V'haya, and it will be. The word v'haya means a lashon of simcha. For the simcha of mitzvah, you're rewarded in this world. Says the Chidah, with this we're going to explain a pasuk in Koheles. Look in the pasuk number 10. V'shibachti ani asa simcha, Shlomo says. I praise happiness. Asher ein toiv la'adam, there's nothing good for a person, tachas hashemesh, under the sun, kiyim le'achol. The only thing that's good in this world is eat, v'lishtois, drink, v'lismayach, and be happy, v'hu yovenu ba'amal yimei chayiv, it will accompany you in your toil during your life. Asher nasan lo haloikim tachas Hashem, said God gave you under the sun. At first glance, the pasuk is very difficult. Shlomo HaMelech basically saying, eat, drink, and be merry. But says the Chidah, when Chazal say eat in Koheles, it means learn. When they say drink, it means do mitzvahs. Says Shlomo, but it's not enough. V'shibachti ani es hasimcha. You know what I praise? Simcha. There is nothing better for a person than to eat, meaning to learn. V'lishtos, and to drink. V'lismoyach, and to be happy. You know why? V'hu yilvenu b'amo yimei chayev. Because the reward will accompany you even in this world. Because for the mitzvah itself, there's no reward. But for the simcha shel mitzvah, you're rewarded even in olam hazeh. By the way, the Noam Elimelech also says this yesod, that for simcha shel mitzvah, you're rewarded in this world. He says we learn it from the word yisachar. Remember, Leah says to Rachel, Ki sachar secharticha, I rented you out, bidudai beni, for the jasmine seeds of my son. I rented you out for the jasmine seeds of your son. Meaning Leah gave over Yaakov to, Rachel gave over Yaakov to Leah. Rachel took the fertility-inducing herbs, and Leah took Yaakov for the night. But the lashon of Yisachar, Ki sachar secharticha b'dudai b'neich, the way the Noam Elimelech reads is like this: Ki sachar. You know what a person is rewarded for in this world? Dudai, a lashon of doidim, for the ava and the simcha with which a person does a mitzvah, he gets reward even in this world. Says the Noam Elimelech, this is a yesod, this is a remez to this idea that we're bringing out, that for the simcha shel mitzvah, a person is rewarded even in this world. Let's try to be masber this, okay? Why would that be? Why is it that a person is not rewarded for the mitzvah itself, but for the simcha of the mitzvah, the happiness with which a person does the mitzvah, you are rewarded? What's the svara? What's the logic? So the Sefer Ma'orei Nayim, the end of Beshalach, we're doing a lot of Hasidic Svarim tonight, non-Hasidic Svarim, everything. Whatever you said we're going to give, you can't argue on. We're going to bring from rayas from both Stadim. The Ma'orei Nayim says like this. By the way, the Vilna Gaon says the exact same words. He says as follows, that for how could Rebbeinu Shalom reward a person for a mitzvah? A mitzvah is the divine command of Hashem. There is no currency in this world that could possibly pay back somebody for fulfilling the Dvar Hashem. I'll give you a mashal. Imagine somebody saved your life. So you're going to pay them back? How are you going to pay them back? What are you going to give them? Here's a bag of jelly beans. Thank you for saving my life. Here's some French fries. Here's $500. That's how much your life is worth. There's no way to pay someone back for saving your life. There's no way for the Rebbeinu Shalom to pay back for a mitzvah. There's no currency in this world that's big enough to pay a mitzvah. So there's no reward in this world. But the simcha, that's not the divine. That's not God's command. That's the human input. That's what comes from us. That's the finite contribution of the Adam. So says the Ma'orei Nayim, for the input of a person, there's reward in this world. For the infinite, there's no reward in this world. The Gra says the same thing. Okay, so Mar Rabbi side, you want to be rewarded in this world? It's not enough to put on tefillin. It's not enough to daven. It's not enough to learn. You come, you put a smile on your face. You come with happiness. You appreciate the fact that the King of the universe has given you the privilege to serve Him. The greatest simcha in the world. You're able to engender that, you're able to feel that. Not only will you be rewarded in Olam Haba, you'll also be rewarded in Olam Hazeh. Number two. There's a pasuk in Hosea. The pasuk says like this: Yechayenu miyoymayim. Rebbeinu Shalom, you kept us alive from 2 days. Bayom hashlishi, and on the third day, yikimenu, you will sustain us. V'nichya lefanav, we will live before you. It's a famous pasuk. God, you kept us alive from 2 days, and for the third day, you will keep us alive. So there's just one question on this pasuk. Like, what in the world is this pasuk talking about? That's one simple question. You kept us alive from 2 days, and for the third day, you will keep us alive. Says the Bereshis Rabbah, what does it mean? You kept us alive from 2 days, and on the third day, you will keep us alive forever. We're good? We're not good? You will keep us alive forever. Says the Bereshis Rabbah. Is the camera on? Says the Bereshis Rabbah that in Parak Nun Vav Pasuk Aleph, look at number 15, that it's referring to the Akedah. That the Rebbeinu Shalom, the electricity, it wasn't on today, so I don't know. The Rebbeinu Shalom kept us alive from the first 2 days of the Akedah, but from the third day of the Akedah, He will keep us alive forever. So what's the meaning of this? So Rabbi Isai, fasten your seatbelts. Comes the Vilna Gaon, and the Vilna Gaon says, Oyam v'noira, mamish, an incredible thing. You know, we always daven, Ribbanu Shalaylam, Zoicher Chasdei Avos, remembers Chos Avos. Frek the Vilna Gaon, what do you mean remembers Chos Avos? For what? Schar mitzvah b'haya maleka. You want the Rebbeinu Shalom to remember the Akedah, the Tenesionis of Avram Avinu, the mitzvahs of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. God doesn't pay back for mitzvahs in this world. Well, what's the concept of the Chos Avos? Says the Gaon, there's no concept. There is no way the Rebbeinu Shalom ever pays back. If the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't pay back the person for their mitzvahs in this world, they're certainly not paying back their children and grandchildren for the mitzvahs. So what's the concept of Chos Avos? Says the Gaon, even though the Rebbeinu Shalom doesn't pay back for the mitzvah, but for the hachana of the mitzvah and the zrizus of the mitzvah, the Rebbeinu Shalom does pay back in this world. By the Akedah, on what day did Avram Avinu do the Akedah? The pasuk says, Bayom HaShlishi, on the third day. But on the first day, what does it say? Vayashkem Avraham Baboker, he woke up early. Vayachav Shis Chamor, he saddled his donkey. Vayivaka Atzei Oil, he chopped the wood. So all the hachanos of Avram Avinu, which are the hachana shel mitzvah, and the zrizus of the mitzvah, that we could be rewarded for. But the third day of the Akedah, the day he actually did the mitzvah, we cannot tap into until Olam Haba. Memela, says the Gaon, this is what the Navi means. Yichayenu miyoymayim. You've kept us alive from 2 days. Rebbeinu Shalom has kept us alive from the 2 days of the Akedah, the days of preparation, the days of Zrizos. Bayoyim HaShlishi, but for the third day of the Akedah, Yikimenu, he will in the future rise us up. V'nichya lefanav. In other words, for the Akedah itself, we get no benefit from in this world. All the benefit of the actual Akedah we can only tap into in Olam Haba. Hechsher mitzvah, the hachana of the mitzvah is the hachana of the mitzvah. It's hechsher mitzvah, but it's not the mitzvah itself. But for that you could be rewarded in this world. But for the mitzvah itself, you can't be rewarded in this world. By the way, the Satmar Rebbe has a long arichos in the beginning of the Parsha, that a raya, that you get reward for hachana in this world and not for the actual mitzvah. Because the Gemara, the Mishnah says in Bechorah, it's like this, that if a judge takes money to judge a case, the verdict is batal mevutal. If a witness takes money to testify, the judgment is batal, the testimony is batal mevutal. If someone takes money to sprinkle the ashes of paraduma or the water of the chatas, batal mevutal. But so the Gemara asks, the Afrekta Abaye, what are you talking about? But it says the halach is if you're makadesh a woman with the water of the chatas or with the ephah of the paraduma, it's a good kedushin. Meaning, if you're makadesh with the money that you're going to get for providing that service, it's a good kedushin. And if that is not legitimate money, how could you get married with that money? Yeah. Says the Gemara, if you marry a woman with the money you get for judging a case, or for testifying, or for sprinkling the ashes, then it's not a good kedushin, because you're not allowed to take money for that. But the money that you're supposed to get for bringing the ashes, and schlepping the ashes, and traveling to court, that you're allowed to take money for, and that you could get married with. Says the Satmar Rebbe, what's the difference? The difference is for a mitzvah itself, you're not allowed to take money, because there's no reward for a mitzvah itself in this world. But for the preparation and the hechsher mitzvah and the hachana and the zrizus, you're authorized to take reward, because for that you're allowed to take schar. And again, this is a proof to this concept of the Vilna Gaon, that even though there's no reward for the mitzvah itself, but for the hachana of the mitzvah, you are rewarded in this world. So it comes out like this. You put on tefillin, there's no reward in this world. You come early to prepare yourself, it's good. Put on a hat, put on a scarf, boots. If you put on tefillin, you get schar in this, you don't get schar in this world. You prepare yourself, you come early, you do hachanas, you do it with zrizus, for that you do get reward. So is that a steer to what we said, that for the simcha shel mitzvah you get reward in this world? No, it's the exact same yisoid. that for a mitzvah itself, a mitzvah is so great, there's no currency for the Yibam Shem to reward us in this world. But anything which is the human input into the mitzvah, whether it's the simcha, whether it's the hachana, whether it's the zrizus, all of those ingredients, a person can be rewarded in this world. Okay, so that is the second way for a person to receive schar ba'olam hazeh. Marv Rabboisai, number three. You ready for this? The third way to get reward in this world. Tosfos, on the first pasuk of the Haya, Eikev, Tishman, says Tosfos, Inami, mitzvahs tzitzis, the mitzvah of tzitzis, she'adam goyrer acharav k'minhag ha'olam. That the pasuk of Eikev refers specifically to the mitzvah of tzitzis. Number 18. Why? Because tzitzis, you know how it is. You ever look at your strings? You wonder, I just got the talis a year ago, and the strings they're so black. What's going on? So Eikev is the lashon of the heels. It refers to a mitzvah that ends up under your heels. What mitzvah ends up under your heels? The tzitzis. Says Tosfos, you should still be very, very careful not to step on the tzitzis. If you step on your tzitzis, God's going to sweep you away with a big broom. But either way, be it as it may, says Tosfos, the mitzvah of Ahaya Eikev Tishman refers to the mitzvah of tzitzis. Comes the Heilige Yismach Moshe, and he says, let me explain something to you. Why would the Rebbe, that means it comes out, Hayoim la'asoisam, for the performance of mitzvahs, you don't get reward in this world. But for Haya Eikev, for tzitzis, you get reward in this world. Why? So says Yismach Moshe, a Yisoid, he quotes an early Achra in the Shevet MiYisrael, and that is, the klal of schar mitzvah v'hayam aleka is only a mitzvah that you're obligated to do. But any mitzvah that you didn't have to do, and you put the obligation upon yourself, and you enter the chiyuv even though you didn't have to, you get reward in this world. What's the raya? The raya is, says the Yismach Moshe, from the Gemara in Bava Kama Daf Tesam Beis. Listen to this Gemara. The Gemara wants to know, how much money do you have to pay to perform a mitzvah? Now, let's say you have an esrog. One esrog is $100. One esrog is $110. Are you obligated to spend the extra $10? So the Gemara says, Hider mitzvah ad shlish. You need to spend a shlish on being mahader in the mitzvah. So $10 is less than a third of the 100. You got to pay $110. You have to pay $140. You don't have to pay $140 because 140, the 40 extra dollars is more than a third. So you don't have to spend more than a third. Okay, I'm talking about those are the two options. When these are the two options, when you have two options, how much more do you have to go for the better option? A third. And there's a question, a third, how do you calculate the third? A third after the total cost, or a third of the inside, a third of the outside? But the Gemara says a very interesting lashon. Look in the Gemara number 21. B'marava amri mishmeid Rab Zera ad shlish mishaloi mikan ve'elach mishal HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Says Rashi, when you spend up to a third more, you have to do that. Dahainu oisay shlish sheyosef, when you add a third, behider mitzvah mishaloihu, it's coming out of your bank account. She'enoi nifra loy b'chayav. Don't expect God to pay you back. You know how people say, I'll spend more on the mitzvah, God will pay me back. It's sheker v'chazav. God said, I never, no promises. Who said I'm paying you back? There's no such thing. There's b'chlal no such thing. There's a concept, it doesn't say the money you spend on the Luv and Esrog he's paying you back for. So, look, I would like to be able to tell you he does, but I have to tell you, I can only tell you the Torah. And according to our religion, he does not pay you back when you spend a little bit extra on a mitzvah. That's the third. Mikan ve'elach. But above and beyond the third, says Rashi, Mashe Yosef behidr Yosar al shlish. When you spend more than a third, Yifra lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chayav. Hashem will pay you back in your lifetime. Take it to the bank. I guarantee you. On the Gemara shoulders, not on my shoulder, on the Gemara shoulders. If you could spend $100 and you spend $150 on the esrog, I guarantee you during that year you will get the $50 back. Again, up to the third. The third itself you got to pay for. More than a third, Hashem will pay you back. Says the Yismach Moshe. What you see from this Gemara is that whatever you have to do, you'll be rewarded in Olam Haba, but not in Olam Hazeh. Above and beyond what you have to do, the Rebbeinu Shalom pays you back in this world. Says the Yismach Moshe, now I finally get it. Listen carefully. If you have a garment of Dalet Kanfos sitting in the drawer, do you have to put tzitzis on it? No. It's not a chayv asmana, it's not an obligation on the article. Do you have to wear a garment of Dalet Kanfos and put tzitzis on it? Technically not. When do you do it? So it's not a chayv asgavra, and it's not a chayv asmana. It's a combination. It's an obligation on the garment when you wear it. Fact the Yismach Moshe, the mitzvah of tzitzis is such a beautiful mitzvah. Why wouldn't God just say, wear tzitzis? You're obligated midaraisa to wear tzitzis. You know why? Says the Yismach Moshe, Hashem wanted to give us a mitzvah that He could reward us for in this world. So since you don't have to put it on, when you go ahead and put it on, now the Rebbeinu Shalom says, I'm going to pay you back in this world. And that's why the Gemara says, someone who wears tzitzis, zar, but tzitzis, he'll have nice clothing. What do you mean nice clothing? There's no reward in this world, the Ramban asks. What do you mean? The Gemara says, Hazar, but tzitzis, zoichel atalis noah. What do you mean there's no reward in this world? Says Yismach Moshe, there's no reward for a mitzvah you have to do. Tefillin you have to do, you will not be rewarded in this world. Tzitzis you don't have to do. You don't have to do it, you will be rewarded in this world. So that's the pshat, says the Yismach Moshe Azoi. Hayoim la'asoisam. When you do a mitzvah, you do it today, you're rewarded tomorrow. You know what you get rewarded for in this world? Eikev, the mitzvah of tzitzis. That's the whole Parsha. This entire Parsha of Eikev, the Parsha's Eikev is the reward for the mitzvah of tzitzis. So that's the third way to get reward in this world. Number one, simcha. Number two, hachana. Number three, tzitzis. And let's add another one. We're going to call number four. Anytime you have something that you didn't have to do, and you put yourself in the matzah of that, you're going to do it, you're going to be rewarded in this world. Meaning, anytime I could have pattered myself. In other words, let's say it like this. I usually drive down a certain street. But if I know if I go and take a detour and pass by the yeshiva, I could give someone a ride. You should know, if you give that person a ride, you're going to get reward in this world. So I didn't have to do it. I'm not mechuyev to drive down that street. Anytime a person puts themselves in a situation where now they're doing a mitzvah and they didn't have to put themselves in that situation, they will be rewarded in this world. What's the raya? That if you spend more than a third of what you're obligated to spend, Hashem pays you back ba'olam hazeh. So I saw today in the Sefer Chak al Yitzchak of the Spinker Rebbe, one of the early Spinker Rebbes. No. What are we going to do? What? He says pshat in the Targum. The Targum says on Rus like this. Boaz tells Rus, Yishalim, Azriel, you have a kasha?
Yeah. Why is the Parsha of Tzitzis then in the end of Shlach of Bamidbar?
I mean, what's it doing? It should be right after Shlach or something, right? First Hashem gives us the mitzvah. He doesn't want us to. He wants us to do it lishma. Later on, there's a freebie. You get some reward. Okay, lefi this yisoid again. Number 3 is tzitzis, and number 4 is b'chlal. Any mitzvah that you obligate, you put yourself in the situation even though you're not obligated. It says in the Targum on Rus on the pasuk, Boaz tells Rus, Yishalim Hashem pa'alech. God should pay you back for your good deeds. V'tihi maskortech shlema. And your reward should be complete. Says the Targum, Yishalem, Yigmal, look at number 23, Yigmal Hashem lich, Gemol Tav. Hashem should reward you, good reward, Ba'alma Hadain, for this world, in this world, Alay Vadach Tav, for your good actions. V'hei Agrich Shlema, and your reward should be whole, La'alma Da'asi. You hear what the Targum is saying? Boaz is telling Rus that you should be rewarded where? Ba'alma Hadain. In this world. What do you mean this world? Schar mitzvah hayam aleka. Is a raya to the yisoid that we're saying. She didn't have to become a ger. You're not obligated to become a ger. What Baya is telling us is, because you came tachas kantei Ashchina, you did something you didn't have to do, so not only are you going to be rewarded agrich shlem la'alma da'asi, but you'll be also rewarded ba'alma hadain. Why? Because again, this is the Yesod. The Yesod is, if you put yourself in a situation where now you're obligated, you didn't have to be in that matzav, you're rewarded even in this world. Okay, so that's number 4. My Rabbi say, okay, so if you want to be rewarded, you could convert to Judaism. Just joking. Okay. Number 5. You ready? Number 5. You ready? Ready? Daniel, you ready? Okay. Chakal said that's pshat in the Targum. The Targum is that Boaz was saying your reward should even be in this world. Why? Because you went ahead and you came tachas kamid. You didn't have to do it. Okay, you ready for this? There's a pasuk like this. Only the Chassam Sofer could learn this pasuk like this. Matzos te'achel b'makom kadosh b'chatzar oyel moyed yechluha. Matzos you should eat in a holy place, in the courtyard of the tent. You will eat it. So literally, eat matzos in the courtyard. Says the Heilige Chassam Sofer. People think, in this world they want to be holy, so they're not going to eat, and they're not going to have pleasure, and they're not going to... Chassam Sofer says, I have a much better idea for you. Act like a normal human being. Eat your meals. Don't be such a kaddish and such a parush. Even better than being holy is being humble. You're much better off acquiring humility than acquiring kedusha. Why? Matzah represents the midah of humility, as opposed to chametz is puffed up. Matzah is te'achel. Matzah you should eat. B'makom kadosh. Instead of being holy. Better be humble in the place of being holy. Matzah is te'achel. Better to be like matzah, be humble. B'makom kadosh. Instead of being holy. You know why it's better? B'chatzar oyel moed yechluha. This world is not the palace. It's the chatzar. It's the chamber. It's the hallway. The reward for humility you'll get in the chatzar, even in this world. Says Chassam Sofer. Matzos te'achel. Matzos you should have. Be humble. B'makom kadosh. Instead of being holy. You know why? You will reap the benefits in the courtyard. This world is the courtyard. The next world is the big palace. For being humble, a person is rewarded in Olam Hazeh. The Chiddush of Chassam Sofer. Why? I don't know. Maybe we'll work on it. Think about it. Doesn't matter why. That's what the Chassam Sofer says. For humility, even though regularly schar mitzvah hay amaleka, when it comes to humility, there's schar in this world. Okay, Rabbi Say, fasten your seatbelts. We're almost at the finish line. Listen to this. Oyoim v'noira. Number 6. Mitzvah number 6, they get reward in this world. In Parshas B'Shalach, it says, Ru'u, look, ki Hashem nasan lachem haShabbos. See that Hashem gave you Shabbos, al kein hu noisen lachem. Rashi says on those words, see that Hashem gave you Shabbos, Ru'u be'einechem, see with your eyes, ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chvoidoi mazhir eschem ala Shabbos. That the Rebbeinu Shalom himself is warning you about Shabbos. It's the only mitzvah in the Torah that Moshe Rabbeinu says, I'm not telling you to do it. Look with your eyes, the Rebbeinu Shalom himself is warning you about Shabbos. What's the emphasis that the Rebbeinu Shalom himself is warning us about Shabbos? Listen to the following. I have a question. How could Hashem not reward us in this world? But we know Hashem keeps the Torah. And in the Torah it says, a lav of Baal Tolen, that you're not allowed to withhold wages. So here it is. I put on tefillin this morning. Rebbeinu Shalom, it's already nach shkia. What happened? Where's my schar? Doesn't the Rebbeinu Shalom have to abide by the Torah that the day can't go by? By the way, whenever you hire somebody to do a job, you have to pay them that day. So, for example, you take a haircut. When you hand the guy the $10, or in Queens it's $20, yeah? A haircut like that, you get what you pay for, So, when you hand the guy the money, you should be mechavein, you be mekayim, a mitzvah saseh, d'oraisa of biyoymoi titein schare. You hear this? When you pay somebody to do a yid who does a job for you, you pay them that day, you should have a mitzvah d'oraisa. So how could the Rebbeinu Shalom not pay us for the mitzvah immediately? How could the Rebbeinu Shalom wait till Olam Haba? The Rebbeinu Shalom has to keep the Torah. The answer is, halacha and choshen mishpat is that only if you hired the person directly to do the job do you have to pay them that day. But if you hired them through a shliach, through an intermediary, you're not obligated to pay them that day. Hashem gave us the Torah through Moshe Rabbeinu. Why? So that Hashem says, I'm not paying you back today. You're getting paid back in Olam Haba. Moshe gave you the Torah, therefore I'm not obligated to pay you. There are only two mitzvahs that we heard mipi hagvura. What are they? Anoichi and lo yiyalecha, right? The Gemara says at the end of Makos. Torah is Gematria 611, because Torah tzivalanu Moshe, and Anoichi and lo yiyalecha mipi hagvura shamanu. So Mamela, which two mitzvahs is Rebbeinu Shalom obligated to pay us back in this world for? The first two, Anoichi and lo yiyalecha. Says the Chak al Yitzchak. That's pshat. Toivim hashnayim min ha'echad. Toivim hashnayim. Good are the two mitzvahs that came from the echad, yachid, and miyuchad. Those two mitzvahs are mamish very geschmack. Hashnayim, the two mitzvahs that came from the echad, are very good, because for those mitzvahs, Hashem rewards us in this world. But there's one more. Comes Moshe Rabbeinu, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, Ru'u, ki Hashem noisein lachem ha-Shabbos. Says Rashi, Ru'u beinechem ki HaKadosh Baruch b'chvoidoi mazir eschem es ha-Shabbos. Rebbeinu Shalom himself is doing it. I'm not telling you. Oh, if Rebbeinu Shalom himself is giving us Shabbos, he's mechuyev to pay us back in this world. Says the Chak al Yitzchak, that's pshat in Masechta Shabbos Daf Kuf Yates, Ashirim shebebavel b'mayhem zoichen. The wealthy people in Bavel, why are they so wealthy? This shvil shemechavdin es haShabbos, because they honor Shabbos. Direct the Chak al Yitzchak, who cares if they honor Shabbos? Schar mitzvah b'hayal maleka. The answer is that the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us Shabbos b'chvoidei v'yatzmai, and therefore he's obligated to pay us back in this world. Now we understand pshat in the Arizal. The Arizal says Shabbos is Rashi Teivos. B'yoymai titein scharai. On that day, you get reward. Nobody understands. What does Shabbos have to do with B'yoymai titein scharai? The answer is, since Shabbos, Chak al Yitzchak doesn't spell this out, but we could explain. The Arizal says in many Mekayimos that Shabbos is Rashi Teivos. B'yoymai titein scharai. Why? Because Shabbos is the one mitzvah that since Rebbeinu Shalom gave it to us himself, he's obligated to pay us on that very day. So that's the sixth mitzvah that you get reward for. And Rabbi says 7 and 8 would be Anoichi and Lo Yiyalecha. So for Emunah b'Hashem, you get reward in this world. For not serving Avodah Zarah, you get reward in this world. So you say, but there is no Avodah Zarah anymore. So I wanted to give a share, but maybe next year, they ask, once Anshe Knesset HaGedolah were Mevatel Yetzer Hara for Avodah Zarah, there's no Avodah Zarah. No. So it's brought in many Sfarim. Kadmoinim, Achroinim, Rashi Yeshivos, that Bizman Hazeh, money is Avodah Zarah. So a person is able to free himself from the shackles of the Yetzer Hara of money. A person says, it doesn't matter that every single guy in the neighborhood is driving a luxury car. They're stuck. The Yetzer Hara has them wrapped around his finger. Meshugoyim. I'm going to free myself. I'm not going to worship money. Not only Mekayim the mitzvah of not worshiping Avodah Zarah, you'll get reward in this world, you'll have even more money. Okay. By the way, just Yitzhak Moshe has a little twist on this. He has a very geschmack. What? You'll be able to buy a nicer car. If you wanted to. Okay. Anyway, so the Yitzhak Moshe has a very interesting chap. It says, all the Nevi'im prophesied with Kai, and Moshe Rabbeinu prophesied with Kai and with Zeh. We spoke about this a few weeks ago. So Yitzhak Moshe explains, what's this business? Other Nevi'im prophesied with Kai, and Moshe Rabbeinu prophesied with Zeh. So the way he understands this is, Kai means, this is what God says, and I'm just an agent. Zeh is, Moshe Rabbeinu opened up his mouth, and Hashem spoke out of his mouth. Now, it was dangerous for Nevi'im to say Zeh. You know why? Because the Navi says Zeh, then Hashem is commanding himself, and then Hashem is going to have to pay back in this world. Now the Yismach Moshe says one added detail, that a boss only is obligated to pay on that day if the worker is toivea the money. If he's not toivea the money, he's not obligated. But the fear is that if a Navi says zeh, then you'll have people of a lower caliber, they'll say, okay, zeh, so pay up. So all the Nevi'im just said kai. They said, we're agents of Hashem, and Hashem is under no obligations. Moshe Rabbeinu sometimes said kai, and sometimes he said zeh. It depends who he's talking to, says the Yismach Moshe. Kai soymar lebeis Yaakov. To the people on the level of Beis Yaakov, lower level people, Moshe said kai. I'm just a shliach, no obligations of the Rebbeinu Shalom. To the people of a higher level, Moshe said zeh, because he was confident they wouldn't ask for the schar in this world. But again, the point being is that whenever the Rebbeinu Shalom gives a mitzvah himself, he's obligated to pay that day. If he does it al yidei shliach, he's allowed to wait. Okay, Marv Rabbi, grand finale. This is Mamish Oyam V'Noira, a shtickle lamdish. It's so geschmack. Listen to this. This comes from the Sefer Lev Aryeh, one of the lamdish Svarim on Masechta Chulin, but he's also one of the great Balei Darshanim. Mamish, you could lick your chops. I'm telling you. It was kedai to come down to this world just to hear this. Listen to this. Says the Lev Aryeh. Listen to this. Mamish Gavaldik. Schar mitzvah b'hayam olekah. There's no reward for mitzvah in this world. But there is reward for not violating averos. Meaning, if you put on tefillin, there's no reward. But if a person has an nisayon to speak lashon hara and they overcome, if a person has an nisayon to look at something improper and they overcome, if a person has an nisayon to do an avera and they overcome, there is reward in this world. Why? Listen very carefully. It's beautiful. What's the halach if a guy wakes up in the morning, he says, I'm not putting on tefillin? Could Bezdin do anything to him? There's no punishment in this world. Let's say a guy doesn't sit in the sukkah. There's no einshim, there's no malchus, there's no misa, there's no kares. There's no punishment. There's no punishment. So just like there's no punishment, there's no reward. But says the Lev Aryeh, in the name of the Tfuah Ishar, on Masechta Sanhedrin, on Baba Basra, what's the halacha if a guy wears shatnez? What could Bezdin do to him? They take the guy, they lift up the shirt, BAM! And they do it another 38 times. What's the halacha if somebody eats chaylev? So min hashamayim, they knock him off. He's gone. They take him out of the world. What's the halacha if someone's mechala Shabbos? Bezdin will kill the guy. So wait a second. That's not fair. If there's punishment for averos, mida toiva maruba, it has to be that if you don't do the avera, there must be reward. Meaning the rule of schar mitzvah b'hayam aleka, the rule that there's no reward in this world, is only for doing a positive mitzvah. You know why there's no reward? The same way there's no punishment for not doing the mitzvah, there's no reward for doing the mitzvah. But on the other hand, there has to be reward for not doing an avera. Why? Because since if you do the avera, there's punishment in this world, if you don't do the avera, there has to be reward, because God's attribute of reward is 500 times greater than the attribute of punishment. Mamela we could explain unbelievably. Rashi brings down, it was the night of Yitzias Mitzrayim, and Hashem looked down from Shamayim, and he saw Va'ad Eiroim, the area that we were naked and bare of mitzvahs. And Va'ever Alayich, Va'erech, V'hine Itech Eis Doidim, V'hine Mitzvah B'damayach, that the Rebbeinu Shalom said, B'damayach Hayi, B'damayach Hayi, he gave us two mitzvahs. What are they? Dam Nila and Dam Pesach. Why? Because we didn't have any mitzvahs. He had to give us mitzvahs. So ask the Lev Aryeh, there's a lack of mitzvahs to give Klal Yisrael? Give us tefillin, give us Torah, give us Shiluach HaKein, give us Sukkah. There are a million mitzvahs Rebbeinu Shalom could give us. Why did he dafka give us Dam Pesach and Dam Nila? You know why? Listen carefully. You know what else these two mitzvahs have in common? They're the only two mitzvahs that if you don't perform them, you chayiv kares. It's the only mitzvahs aseh that if you don't do them, there's einesh. Oh, there's einesh if you don't do them. Rebbe Shalom says, quick, I got to figure out a way to get them schar b'hai alma. The only way to get them schar in this world is to give them mitzvahs that there's punishment if they don't do. Because if there's the same way that if you don't violate a lav, there's reward, since if you did violate it, there's punishment. So Rebbe Shalom has to say, well, I got to quickly find mitzvahs that if you don't do them, there's punishment, so that if you do them, there's reward. And there's only 2 mitzvahs in the Torah that if you're not mekayim them, there's a punishment. Mila and Pesach. They're both chayiv kares. Memela, the Rebbe Shalom was searching not just for 2 mitzvahs. The Rebbe Shalom knew he had to get us a mitzvahs that give us schar ba'olam hazeh. So the only 2 mitzvahs that the performance of them is schar ba'olam hazeh would be dam Pesach and dam Mila. By the way, maybe we could add the same Chazal say, you know what else Hashem told them? Hashem told them, Mishchu yedechem me'avodas kochavim, separate from avodah zara. Because we know that Lo Yeh Lecha Hashem gave b'chvay devayatzma. It's another mitzvah that you get schar b'hai alma. There is also a Chazal, maybe we could add also, that as they cross the Yam Suf. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Be it as it may, Marv Rabbi Sai, according to this Lev Ha'aryeh, there's another Chak al Yitzchak that says now we can understand the last pasuk of Eschanan and the first pasuk of Eikev. Listen carefully. We began the Shiur, V'Eschanan ends Hayoim la'asoisam. Today you do the mitzvahs and only tomorrow you get reward. And Eikev begins, V'Haya Eikev Tishmon, Eis HaMishpatim Eila, here's the reward. So do you get reward, do you not get reward? Says the Chak al Yitzchak, based on the Lev Ha'aryeh like this. You only get reward for not violating Lavin. You don't get reward for fulfillment of Aseh. So you read the psukim like this. Hayoim la'asoisam. For the asiyas ha-mitzvahs, for the positive commandments of mitzvahs. You do them today, you get reward tomorrow. You don't get reward today for la'asoisam. You know when it's v'haya eikev. You know when you get reward. Tishmo nes ha-mishpatim. When you're careful not to violate the mishpatim are the lavin in the Torah. Says the Chak al Yitzchak, mishpatim always refer to the loisas, like the pasuk says, shimru mishpat. Mishpatim need to be guarded. You can't violate them. Va'asu tzedakah. Asayas are performed. Mishpatim are guarded from. Memela, the end of Aschanan that says there's no reward in Olam Hazeh, that's hayoim la'asoisam. That's for asiyas ha-mitzvah. The beginning of Eikev, which says there is reward for the mishpatim. Mishpatim refers to not violating the lav. Again, the svara is, since there's punishment for violating a lav in this world, there's also reward for not violating a lav in this world. So, here we go. Here's the big count, the executive summary. If you don't kill people, you can be rewarded in this world. Now, provided that you had some kind of, desire to kill the person. If you really have the desire to kill them, you'll be rewarded in this world, but you'll have other issues that you probably have to deal with.
So every minute that you're not somebody stealing, you get rewarded for that?
Again, if you really want to. So Marv Rabosai. Now, even though the Rambam says when you pass by treif, you should say, really, I want to eat it, but I can't. But not by killing and stealing. The person shouldn't say, ooh, I wish I would really kill somebody, but Hashem told me not to do it. The Rambam says there's a difference between different types of mitzvah. Bottom line is, let's get the count. You have to write it down if you want to know how to get reward in this world. Number 1, doing mitzvahs b'simcha. There's schar in olam hazeh. Number 2, hachana of a mitzvah. There's schar in olam hazeh. Number 3, the mitzvah of tzitzis. There's schar in olam hazeh because you didn't have to do it. Number 4, any time a person puts themselves in a situation where now they're obligated to do. Let's say like this. You get a chavrusa. I have a chavrusa. I have to learn every night. By putting yourself in a matzah, now the truth is you have to learn every night anyway. A Jew has to learn. But when you're mechayiv yourself to do something that you wouldn't have had to do otherwise, you'll get reward in this world. Number 5, humility. Humility, your reward in this world. Number 6, Shabbos. Shabbos, reward in this world. Number 7, Anoichi. Hashem Elokecha. Emunah, your reward in this world. Not serving avodah zarah, your reward in this world. Number 9, not violating any lavin, being careful from any lavin, your reward in this world. So that sort of makes the avodah zarah obsolete. But then we could add number 10, and if you need an 11th, I'll give you an 11th. Number 10 is the Karban Pesach. If you eat the Karban Pesach, you'll be rewarded in this world. Unfortunately, we don't have the Karban Pesach anymore, but we do have Bris Milah. So in the Schus of Bris Milah, you get schar in Olam Hazeh. So we should be zoichet to nekayim all the mitzvahs in the Torah. Yevon Shalom should give us Peroseim ba'Olam Hazeh, and we should make sure we still have the Karen Kayemes Olam Haba. Shkayach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.